Spiders are a common fear for a lot of people. They give me the heebie-jeebies. Now, in our spider room here at the reptile park, we keep spiders of all shapes and sizes. Now, they like it dark, so they live behind that curtain. Now, today I want to show you my top 5 Aussie spiders. Now, the first one is a personal favourite of mine, and it's found right throughout Australia in every outback toilet. They're the ones that bite you on the bottom, the redback spider. Redbacks like to tuck away in bricks, bits of tin or behind timber stacks, making them so successful in and around the urban areas of Australia. There's no surprise that the redback spider is named because of the red stripe on its back. Now, this is a big female, and one interesting thing is that female redback spiders, like their cousin, their relative, the black widow, will actually make a meal out of the male after they've mated. If you're bitten, you'll know about it. It's a painful bite. Now, what will happen is the fangs are so small you might not even see the marks, but you'll begin to feel a stinging sensation, hotness. Then it'll begin to spread and it'll travel into your lymph nodes. Now, you might get pain across the chest, nauseous in the belly, a strong headache. Now, redbacks aren't responsible for a lot of deaths, but such as the nature with all venoms, everyone reacts differently. The worst case would be to have an allergic reaction. Then you're in real strife. Now, what they do to catch their prey is they have little snare-like webs that'll attach to the ground or a piece of structure, and when an insect comes along, it trips the snare, the redback runs down, entangles it in the web, bites, envenomates, and kills its prey. Now, quite a shy spider and a small spider, but if I was an insect, I wouldn't want to get in its way. Next up, we go from the shy redback to a spider that's confident and actively hunts down its prey. If spiders were dinosaurs, then this one would surely be the Tyrannosaurus rex. It's a wolf spider. Now, they're not that harmful to humans, their bite, but I like them because they're such a confident spider and they actively go out and hunt their prey. Now, they look pretty dull, and that's because they need to be camouflaged. Wolf spiders are found throughout a range of habitats. They're pretty versatile. Now, they may have a simple little burrow with some basic web under a rock, a log or a stump, and of a night time, they leave that and they head out to hunt, be that in woodland, grassland, rocky plains. Doesn't really matter. Wherever their prey is, you'll find wolf spiders. Hey, stay in there, buddy, please. He's trying to climb up the side. These spiders are nuts. So much energy and aggression. Right now, his front legs are raised, exposing his fangs, ready to strike. A true hunter. Wolf spiders are really agile, and when they decide to move, they decide to go somewhere, they do it in a real hurry. I don't want him on my lap. Their venom isn't very harmful to humans. It can cause quite a sting, and you risk having an allergic reaction. That would be bad. But if you were a cricket, you're in real strife if that little guy bites you there. In the spider world, wolf spiders are wonderful mothers. They'll care for an egg sac that she'll keep under her until those babies hatch. Now, when they do, they'll ride around on her back, thick. I've seen them, and at times, you don't realise that her back is covered in babies because they're so small and they're just so densely stuck to her back. Now, as they begin to get bigger and they can look after themselves, they'll naturally disperse and leave mum. But a pretty wonderful mother. Bigger spider, bigger barrier. The problem with this one is that it can climb straight up glass surfaces, just like that. It's the Australian bird-eating spider, or Australian tarantula. Pretty amazing that a spider of that size can stick right onto glass. Here we go. How'd she come? There we go. Hello. What I love about these big spiders is their temperament. They're shy, gentle, slow-moving and methodical. In Australia, bird-eating spiders are found up throughout the wet tropics of North Queensland. They live on the rainforest floor and are terrestrial. They have beautiful silk-lined burrows and they go under rocks or logs. Now, at the entrance of their burrows, they set tripwires. And if a prey item comes along and trips one of those wires, you're going to have this big spider charging out, sinking his fangs into whatever it is that's there, taking it back down into his burrow to eat it and digest it. Once it's envenomated its prey and killed it, the venom starts to do something different altogether. It begins to break the prey down from the inside, to dissolve it. The spider then uses its fangs to pulp the fleshy parts of its food and actually drink it. It's pretty gross. Now, they may be massive, but they're certainly not something to be terrified of. And in fact, people keep bird-eating spiders and tarantulas as pets. The right substrate, a bit of peaty moss, some water and a cricket once a week, and you'll have a happy little spider. Well, maybe not so little. These are often confused with one of the world's deadliest spiders, the funnel web spider. But this is a trapdoor spider and only mildly venomous.
Trapdoors don't just differ from funnel webs in that their venom is much weaker, but they also look a little bit different, even if it's just subtle.
Now, if you look down here on the back of the abdomen, they don't have the spinnakers that funnel webs do. They're missing and they're quite distinct on the funnel web. The hard casing over the back of their head, it's a light grey-brown with tiny little hairs. And in between their front two legs, they have what's called palps. Now, on the trapdoor, they look like a pair of boxing gloves and they're quite distinctive. They're not aggressive, and behaviourally, they're very different than funnel webs. Funnel webs are aggressive, and they will bite. Trapdoors, far more likely to be shy, timid, reclusive, and not even see them. One interesting thing is that I often get calls that people have got infestations of trapdoors. They can find an area that is really suitable for them, and quite often it's someone's beautiful lawn. It'll be covered in holes about 1 centimetre round, and they go deep, about 25 centimetres into the ground. That's where the trapdoors live. They build their little webs and they wait for the prey to come to them. And whilst trapdoors might look big and scary, they're not. But their look-alike is, and it's one of the world's deadliest spiders. It's the Sydney funnel web, my favourite. The temperament of the funnel web is unquestionably aggressive. I'm just sitting here in front of her. I've gently touched one of her legs with the tongs, and she's reared up, and on the end of each fang is already a droplet of venom. Now, what that says is that she's an aggressive spider. If I put my finger too close, she's going to bite it, and I'm going to receive a full dose of venom. Their venom delivery system is quite extraordinary. Their fangs are over 0.5 centimetre long, and if you've been bitten, you'll know about it. Not just because the fang has gone into your flesh, but because their bite is also extraordinarily painful. After that, that's when the neurotoxins start to take effect and your body shuts down.
Interestingly, the venom is uniquely toxic to primates, which is why us humans call it the most venomous. But for dogs and cats, the bite's relatively harmless.
Here at the Australian Reptile Park, we keep up to 250 funnel web spiders at any one time. We extract their venom, we milk them, and we send that off to be made into the life-saving antivenom. Since 1982, when antivenom was first created, no one has died from a funnel web spider bite. Before that, the fastest known bite to death was 76 minutes. Imagine that. You don't have much time.
Even with antivenom, bite prevention is your best bet when avoiding those huge fangs. But if you are unlucky enough to get bitten, there are some things you must know.
For funnel web spiders, it's similar to Australian snake bites. Pressure immobilisation bandage, jewellery off, you're going to swell. Wrap the bandage and get to hospital. They will look after you. Well, that was my Aussie top 5 spiders. And number 1 here, she's put on a good show. She's been a pretty good girl. I think she needs a reward, a big juicy cricket. Here you go. I wouldn't want to be that cricket. And there we have it, Australia's deadliest spider, if not the world's. Now's when it gets exciting. It's just on dark and the crocs will be waking up. We just saw our first run of bubbles. That's air coming out of a crocodile's nose, but it hasn't come up. Maybe in a little while.
Yeah, Timmy, just over there, mate. Yeah, right through there. I'm on the Daintree River with the guys from the North Queensland Crocodile Protection Society. We've been out since dusk surveying croc numbers.
There's a big female right in under there. We can see her whole body. And Adam knows her. Her name's Fang. And he thinks she might be full of eggs because the last few days she's been spending a heap of time up on the bank. Might have a nest up there.
When she's ready, she'll lay those eggs, over 50, in a nest she'd have built herself. A couple of months later, she'll hear the calls of her young from within the nest and dig them out. Then she'll carry them down to the water's edge, gently in those jaws. 1 year down the line, though, and only one, possibly two, will have survived. Predators will have taken the rest. It's nature's way of keeping the population in check. Out on the river again, and we're seeing plenty of activity.
There we go. There's his eyes. Two big eyes glowing at me.
This male's a little one, just over a metre or so maybe just a few years old. He's a long way off sexual maturity where he'll be able to sire his own young. That comes at around 20 years old when he'll have reached over 3 metres.
There's one, Tim.
Where is he, mate?
Just under there.
Oh, yep. He's little.
Croc numbers are healthy nowadays when you consider 40 years ago, numbers were at a critical level due to widespread hunting. Today, they have legal protection, but the very same authorities that brought that about want to now cull these magnificent creatures. Fatal attacks do occur, but they're rare and usually down to unusual circumstances, not always the crocodile's fault.
Big croc over there!
We can't go about destroying these animals just because the human population is growing. It's time people realise the Daintree and rivers like it are the croc's home as well. Surely they've got a greater claim to it anyway. After all, they've been around for millions of years. Thankfully, people like Maddie, Shane and Erin are bringing awareness to the local population. I only hope they can persuade the authorities their plans are futile. I've enjoyed my night out on the river. The croc population seems healthy for now.
Righto. See you later. See you, Adam.
But it's time for me to move on. I really hope the situation remains the same when I return.
These little critters have been singled out by some as the biggest threat to Australian wildlife since European settlement. Even more than other introduced animals like pigs, cats and camels, the highly poisonous cane toad has indeed had a profound effect on Australia's wildlife. But I'll probably surprise a few people here. I love them. Cane toads are from South America. They were introduced back in 1935. They were brought in to eat the sugarcane beetle in Queensland. But with no natural predator here, they spread like the plague. They can now be found from Queensland, through the Northern Territory and into Western Australia. And there's no doubt about it, they do kill animals I love. It's absolutely clear that snakes, lizards and croc numbers have suffered. Finding any one of these with a toad in its mouth is not uncommon if you take a walk out into the bush. The problem is, they can't handle the poison secreted by toadie here. When it's threatened, these glands here that stretch from behind the eyes, down past the shoulders, secrete a white fluid called a buffotoxin. This stuff's not only deadly to animals, but it can kill humans too. Ingest the poison and you'll soon be salivating, then twitching, vomiting, and you could be dead within 15 minutes from a heart attack. The problem we have here in Australia is there aren't enough predators that keep the cane toad numbers in check like back home in South America. One that is the wily old crow. Most birds aren't known to be affected by the poison, but there's nothing like a crow to delve where others wouldn't dare. The trouble is, we can't rely on crows to stem the tide of cane toad domination. When you consider females lay between 8 and 25,000 eggs at a time, and fully grown, an adult will consume far more than any native frog. You can gauge just how big a problem there is. But it might not be all bad. Since the first 101 got off the boat 80 years ago, they've in fact helped numbers of certain species. Certainly some common reptiles and amphibian numbers are much healthier. This is due to the fact that predator numbers are kept down by eating cane toads. And there's evidence to suggest that some predatory species have learnt to avoid toads as food. Even though there's experts out there coming up with ways to reduce numbers, the cane toad, in my opinion, is here to stay. So you might ask, if these fellas are killing so many animals that I love, why do I still love them?
Well, plenty may think they're just darn ugly, but look at that. What a handsome fella.
Cane toads are deadly poisonous, especially to unknowing predators like the king brown.
Hey, King Brown. Oh, can you take this?
Yeah, mate.
Oh, look at that. Look at the size of it. This is a good find. I mean, look at this beauty. We're in an area riddled with toads, cane toads. King Browns have suffered a lot with toads, and to find a breeding snake like this, a mature adult snake, just a special find. These guys, big snakes, and they eat almost anything. Amphibians, reptiles, mammals, birds. You see the coloration. Not so much on the belly, but on the back, a light tanny brown. I mean, look at this environment where we found it. It's exactly the same colour. So to cruise through that, almost undetectable, because a small king brown, good prey for a black kite or a bird of prey. And these guys are Australia's largest venomous snake. And with a head like that, big venom glands, they put so much venom into a bite. You do not want to get bitten by one of these guys.
Time for this beauty to go off on his merry way, and hopefully he won't eat a cane toad for dinner.
That's a girl. Settle down. What a snake. Look at that. That's definitely not going to happen to Hercules here. He's our very own king brown snake at the park, and let me tell you, he's a whopper.
In fact, we reckon Hercules is the biggest king brown in captivity. And like all of our venomous snakes here, he's a part of our anti-venom production program.
Come on, buddy.
The name King Brown is a misnomer. Herc and his kind are actually part of the black snake family, and they can be found right throughout the interior of Australia.
Okay, that's it. Now I'll get him on. Okay, Mickey, one, two, oh, sorry, mate. Right, go. On, mate. Okay, that's it. A little bit more. Good. Okay, up.
Oh. Look at the size of these venom glands. Inside there is more venom than any other Australian snake. He generally gets milked every 2 weeks, like every snake here. Let's see how you go, Herc. Whoa, look at that. Now, what king browns lack in toxicity, they make up for in their amount of venom. We'd get a couple of drops, 10 to 15 mils for a tiger snake or a taipan. That's 150 mils of king brown snake venom. This lot, with the rest, will be sent to the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories in Melbourne to be made into anti-venom.
Out there is the Southern Ocean, and it's home to what's probably the world's most feared animal.
The thing is, plenty of people, including me, reckon he's one of the most misunderstood as well.
This is Port Lincoln, and it's from here that you can encounter one of the most in-your-face wildlife experiences you'll find anywhere on the planet. If you haven't guessed it yet, I'm going great white shark diving. Now, I've got to tell you, this doesn't exactly sit well with me. I mean, this cage is going to be between me and whatever's out there, but you only have to look online to see that great whites will have a good go at these bars if they feel like it. The thing is, they're an easy target and the media always has a field day when there's an encounter with humans. So I'm keen to know what our captain, Andrew Wright, who sees them every day, thinks.
Well, Tim, there's not too many animals on the planet that can eat you. I think that's probably the primal fear that humans have, is that there's this creature in the ocean capable of killing them. And that's something that runs through everyone's mind when they jump in the ocean. But look, at the end of the day, if you look at the statistics, you've got a better chance of dying driving to the ocean, let alone jumping in it.
So why then do people that want culling or different practices put in place, why and how do they get such a loud voice?
Well, they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, you know, and a lot of it just comes down to a misunderstanding. You know, people have got this idea that there's thousands of great whites and their populations are exploding, and you know, we've got to do something about it to maintain our position at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
We just can't accept that there's creatures out there that are higher up the chain in certain areas than what we are.
What's their nature really like?
Oh, look, I mean, you'll see for yourself today. Well, hopefully you'll see for yourself today. I mean, of course, there's every chance that, you know, we might see a shark.
Yep.
I mean, there was 7 there yesterday and 9 the day before, but who's to say? You know, it's a big wide ocean, they've got a tail. but for the most part they're just cruising around, just sussing it out, and when there's a couple around at once, there is a pecking order, they get on reasonably well together. But they do their own thing. Like, they're not a pack hunter, they're not scheming together to get the bait. They're doing their own thing, but they do that with respect to the other sharks that are around. But once we get out there, I mean, we go to Neptune Islands, and that's the largest colony of New Zealand fur seals anywhere in Australia. You know, there's the best part of 40,000 fur seals there. And if you're going to find a shark, you've got to go to the spots where the sharks go to eat. You know, I mean, they go to the Neptunes to feed on seals. It's right in the middle of the pupping season at the moment, so hopefully all the planets align and we have a good day. Enough about the sharks, Tim. I mean, you've obviously come a long way to see them. What's going through your mind?
Oh, look, I'm nervous but excited. Like a lot of the bigger predatory wildlife, once I've had an experience with them, I tend to think very differently of them or appreciate them. And, you know, I'm not sure what to expect out there, but I'm hoping for sharks. Yep. I'm hoping to see them doing their wild thing and come home with a bit more knowledge.
Yep, well, look, fingers crossed that a few turn up.
Yeah, I hope so.
Anyway, we'll enjoy the trip down. We've got a lovely day, beautiful weather. We've turned it on for you.
Yeah,
so that's half the trip.
It's a 3-hour ride out to Neptune, which gives you plenty of time to think about what's ahead.
We're looking for one of the ocean's largest predators. And I'm going to jump in the water and have a swim with it. Maybe something this size. Could you imagine that? There's a healthy population of Australian sea lions and New Zealand fur seals right there on the island, and that's what brings the sharks here.
Great whites move around, never staying in the one spot too long. But the Neptune Islands offer such an abundance of food that one has been recorded hanging around for 92 days.
We're here in early December, right in the middle of the seals' breeding season. There's about 4,000 pups born here every year.
We're not banking on the seals putting their lives on the line for us, so the crew's chucking burley overboard to attract the sharks.
Great whites have an amazing sense of smell. They can detect just a few drops of blood in the water up to 5 kilometres away.
There's no chance this one was that far though. We've made contact within a few minutes.
We've just seen our first shark, and I knew something was going on because all of the seagulls here lifted and they just moved over there. And then out of the deep comes a big grey mass, our first shark. This place is alive. There's seals and their pups on the shore and in the water. There's birds everywhere. Tuna at the back of the boat, just chopping up the burley. It's easy to understand why the sharks are here. It's time for me to get suited up and in the water.
There's still no concrete data on how many great whites are left out in the oceans. So it's fair to say that whatever I see today, I should be grateful for.
It's my turn. Into the deep blue, the great unknown. Good luck.
This is just incredible. No sooner have I gone under and the sharks are here. Just look at them. No wonder they're the most feared animals in the ocean. The odds on being attacked by one of these terrifying fish are astronomically high. But can you imagine it? This is one of the scariest experiences out there. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking the behaviours I've just shown you are exactly how great whites are in the water, all snarling teeth and thrashing tails. Well, that's how they're usually depicted in the media, but let me show you how they can be. On the whole, these monsters of the deep just go about their business. Cruising around, they largely keep to themselves. Their main diet is fish, but look at these schools. They hardly seem bothered by the presence of their biggest predator. Now, that doesn't mean to say I'm going to jump in and have a swim with them. But don't be fooled by the continual feed of stories suggesting the oceans are filled with great whites, ready to devour anyone who pops a toe in the water.
That was truly amazing. They come out of nowhere and they're so big, but at the same time graceful and majestic. But that Southern Ocean's cold. I need to get out of this wetsuit.
I can safely say that the experience will live with me for a lifetime, but it wasn't at all what I was expecting.
So, at some points there I was sort of hoping, not expecting, but hoping that a shark was going to, butt into the cage and ram his head in and try and eat me. But they were in fact gentle and majestic and graceful, and that I guess is a very different perspective, because most people would think they're going to try and eat them through the cage, but they don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a whole raft of guidelines that that we've obviously got to abide by in doing the tours that we do, and minimising and certainly avoiding contact with the cage, between the cage and the animal, is right up high on that list, sort of thing. So I mean, our guys work very hard to ensure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Working with animals day in, day out, I get to witness individual characters. It's no different for Andrew and the sharks.
Who's the one there with half a fin?
Yeah, that's our old favourite. His name's Chopper. So, it looks like he's had his dorsal fin, got the top of it chopped off, whether it's from another shark or tangled up in something and it's sort of chafed through. But no, he's fairly regular, that guy. He's up sort of 4.5 metres now, so he puts on a good show.
How many of them can you tell individually, and do you get the same sharks turn up?
Look, we get a lot of the same sharks. I mean, when they come to Neptune's, they turn up here for a period of time, become temporary resident because of the seal colony. Some will only stick around for a couple of days, some will stick around for up to a couple of months, actually. And like Chopper, for instance, I mean, he turned up again about 10 days, 2 weeks ago, sort of thing. So hopefully he's here for a while longer.
And so that raises the importance of the other side of the work that you do. So you bring people out to have an experience with sharks, but you do a lot of research at the same time. What's involved in that?
I mean, a lot of the research is passive observation sort of thing that we make and record. I mean, we've got to log down all sorts of environmental factors to see if that plays a part. Weather conditions, wind, tide, all of that sort of stuff.
I see a behavioural change in them here now. When they go in, they're just cruising along so gently, and then they want a bit of food and the speed picks up. Do you get to know individual characters, and how do behaviours change?
Look, they're all their own shark sort of thing. Like there's no one general characteristic sort of thing. And yes, it does change day by day, but your sharks that are slow and almost lazy, I mean, they seem to always be like that. And then you've got the little guys that are just full of energy, like a 5-year-old kid that
like
are just
me.
Oh mate, they're just running around like madmen sort of thing.
5 sharks there at once a minute ago.
Yes.
Is that about as many as you'd expect on a day?
Oh, look, we're having a good day. I mean, today's certainly been above average, shark-wise. I mean, we were quite lucky that, first shark turned up while we're doing the safety briefing. I mean, no one listens to safety briefing, but geez, first world problems, So, but yeah, I think we're up to about 6 or 7 different sharks today, and as you said, 5 at once. I mean, to have 5 apex predators within your sight, at one time is fantastic.
That's fantastic, and an experience I'll never forget.
They might be one of the most feared creatures on Earth. And let me tell you, when I was down there, my heart was racing, cage or no cage. But just being in their presence and experiencing their gentle nature, well, for me at least, that's turned my fear to respect. It's about to get dark, and every night something totally wild happens right here.
Roosting up in the trees during the day is the local population of fruit bats.
These are little red flying fox, and this is a daytime roost.
Now, their goal through the day is to escape the hot sun and stay cool in the shade. But for some of them, the heat's just too much and they must get a drink before they head out to feed. And when they do, they come here. This is the last remaining decent body of water along this stretch. When the bats come down to drink, they can't walk on the ground, so they fly. They actually hit the surface of the water with their chest, and that becomes wet. Then they continue to fly and they lick that water off their breasts, and that's how they have a drink. The danger is having a drink with 200 crocodiles in this pond. Now the crocs get in the middle where all the bats are going to hit, and they sit there, mouth open, ready to snap any bat that comes within strike zone. Now, freshwater crocs are fish-eating specialists, but when something like a bat, an easy meal, drops in on your doorstep, how can you say no? For the fruit bats, it's a dangerous game of chicken. With thirsty bats and a setting sun at Windjana Gorge, it's showtime. For the most part, the cheeky bats get away with it, scot-free. Their flight paths are so close to the hungry crocs, but after a few close calls,
The show's over, and I've seen a lot of things in my travels, but that is truly special. The crocs went nuts.
this is the Napier Ranges in Western Australia. Yesterday, I was at Windjana Gorge, where freshwater crocs are under threat from cane toad invasion. The sun rises early out here and the days are hot, so I'm keen to get moving.
Just down the road from Windjana is Tunnel Creek. That's where I'm off to now.
The creek's formation is the result of river water cutting a 750 metre long tunnel through the rock.
This is another highly significant place to the Bonuba people, and not just because of its Dreamtime stories.
The story of Jundamurra is legendary. An Aboriginal man who led a rebellion against invaders in defence of his people's country and culture. But his story isn't quite as simple as that.
He grew up on a cattle station where he learned to ride, shoot and speak English, but later he got into some trouble and he did a bit of time in jail. But after that, the local policeman, Bill Richardson, employed him as a tracker and actually helped to capture many of his own people.
Unable to neglect his heritage, he turned the gun on Richardson and returned to his people. For years, he led a guerrilla movement against the Europeans.
A battle back up at Windjana saw him badly wounded. But a miraculous recovery only enhanced his reputation. Thereafter, amongst his own people, he was thought to be immortal.
But in 1897, police enlisted a legendary tracker called Mingo Mick, who caught up with the mob in their hideout, right here in Tunnel Creek.
At the age of 24, Jundamurra's time was up. But his legend continues to this day.
In addition to its spiritual importance, Tunnel Creek's wildlife makes it particularly special. But to see it, I'm going to have to delve deeper.
It's time for me to head in the tunnel. And it looks like somebody's already left me a track.
This unique environment harbours all sorts of creatures, fish, crustaceans, and various bat species.
The bats use the limestone caves because they maintain a constant warm temperature and there's plenty of humidity. And what's amazing is that they fly around here in the pitch dark with echolocation. Now, most of these species are not audible to the human ear, so I can't hear them making a sound, but they're bouncing little sounds off the walls, and that builds a picture of where they're flying and what it looks like.
Not only are these sound waves helping the bats fly without bumping into things, they also tell them where their predators and prey are. Here's the first colony of bats, and let me tell you, this is a real treat. They're ghost bats and they're a rare endemic to Australia's north. They get their name from the thin membrane that makes up their wing, and when flying at night, it looks ghostly. These bats really are the stuff of nightmares. Well, at least for mice, birds, geckos, small snakes, and other bats. When they grab their prey, they'll hold them down with their thumb claws and kill them with one bite to the neck.
I've come to a section of the cave where a large portion of it has collapsed, so there's a big pocket of daylight. And above that are some black flying foxes, and they're roosting there. But something I wasn't aware of, and I certainly didn't know existed in this cave system, is there's a colony of black flying fox inside the cave. And flying foxes may be similar to microbats in that they're both bats, but flying foxes are fruit eaters and they generally roost in trees. I've never seen anything like that.
Living alongside the flying foxes are common bentwing bats. During the day, they hide within the cracks and crevices, so sightings are uncommon. But there's something else that lives here, even deeper in the dark, that I'm determined to find.
There's some more tracks here. Somebody's showing me the way. Here's a track, and it goes right into the water. And there's a freshwater croc, just like his mates up at Winjana, except here, they've found a niche in a cave system. And freshies are fish specialists. That's what they eat. But I think in here, they've found a niche where they're eating bats. Maybe the fruit bat babies drop into the water, or a microbat dies and drops into the water. I'm starting to realise they're a little bit more adaptable than I thought they were. 1, 2, 3. There's 4 freshwater crocodiles in here, at least. I can see that many. And it's near pitch dark. Found a spot in the middle where the roof of the cave had collapsed and there was a little bit of sun and heaps of freshy tracks. So they've figured out how to get their sun and vitamin D, but they're thriving in this cave.
They're one of only 3 known subterranean croc populations in the world. And just like the others, a lack of sunlight means they've developed a much paler coloration.
That light down there, that's the end of the tunnel. And I found what I came to see in here and in fact learn a few things. I've never seen fruit bats roosting in a cave. And the freshwater crocs, well, they're a little more versatile than I had thought. It's nice to learn something. That's the end of the journey for me.